Welcome to Journey to Queendom, the sacred space where survival ends and sovereignty begins. I'm your host, Marci J. Duncan, and this is where we lay down the cape of overachievement, code switching, and self-doubt, and we pick up the crown of softness, wholeness, and authenticity.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Journey to Queendom. I'm your host, Marci J. Duncan, and I am so happy that you are here again this week to continue this journey with me, my journey to Queendom. And hopefully you're on a journey too. And there's some things here that I've said along the way that maybe can help you too. Let's start with our check-in from last week. The reflection that I had you all to think about was, where are you hiding in your relationships? Were you able to identify places in your relationship that you are not as transparent or visible or open? I talked about how those things affected me in the last episode. The next question I wanted you guys to kind of spend some time talking about was journaling about is, what does true intimacy mean to you? What does that mean? What does it look like? And I hope you were able to really investigate. First of all, sit, listen, be quiet, and then write without judging anything about what you're writing, just kind of stream of consciousness writing with this prompt. How can you be more honest about your needs and desires? We all can improve on that one, right? I want to remind you too that there is a companion workbook that goes along with the podcast. And the link is down below in the show notes, but just in case, you can go to artistsatplayworkshops.com and you can download your copy right there on the website. Just go to the shop and it's right there.
The next thing I kind of want to talk about is the idea of allowing care. Now, for me, I'm just going to talk about me. This is something that I struggled with for a while because it didn't fit the narrative that I could do it by myself. I could take care of myself. I knew what I was doing. I didn't need any help, blah, blah, blah. Now, as I say these things, they really do sound horrible, but I know that I'm not alone in thinking this way. And I know what caused that thinking because I had the courage to go and look into those dark corners of my mind, the dark corners of my heart, the dark doors that were locked and the key thrown away from the trauma that I had experienced and the survival mode that I had enacted in order to cope with those things. I knew exactly where these things were coming from. And so now I'm able to kind of really hear them for the first time, believe that I didn't need anybody to care for me. I can care for myself. As a matter of fact, I can't trust people to take care of me or to care for me because they're going to want something in return. It's only going to be a form of manipulation in order to get what they want. So I didn't trust that care of me would be honest and that it would be simply pure and good intention. Treating me with care was offensive to me. Like if someone were to treat me as if, I was delicate or I was precious, it would piss me off. And I know how it sounds. But I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not. Friends, it would make me mad. If my husband would try to open the door for me, I would be like, oh my God, I can do this myself. I mean, literally, by the time you make it over here, I can be out and in the store. But this is the warped mentality that came from operating out of survival mode. And I'm finally reaching that point in my life where I realize that those survival mechanisms and tactics no longer make sense because I'm not married to someone that would take advantage of me. I'm not surrounded around people who secretly want to take me down. I am not in relationship and community with people who mean me harm. Right? I am a very discerning person. I believe that that's a gift that God has given me to enhance the creative energy that He's giving me, so I can discern intention and spirits and essence, and types, if you will. Sometimes I'm wrong, but oftentimes I'm pretty spot on. So I have these gifts that God has given me, but they are not in full operation for my good. Instead, they are making me suspicious. They are making me untrusting. They are making me doubtful. They are making me severely self conscious, right? Because the narrative then says, I am not worthy. People don't mean me good. I am best when I am by myself. And you see, that is everything I don't want. That is everything I don't want. I could see if those things were true desires of mine and they were working in my favor to get me to where I wanted to be. I could see that. But they were not doing that. They were holding me back. They were causing me this inner turmoil, which resulted in depression and anxiety. And it was causing me to isolate, which then pushed me further into this vicious cycle of self-protecting, of self-survival, of self-soothing, right? And this is not what I wanted. And I realized the more time I spent in meditation and in my spiritual practice and in therapy, I realized that this was not my greater good either. This was not what God wanted for me. A lot of times when you have experienced trauma, your mindsets and your belief system isn't completely to be trusted, because sometimes it can be tainted by the things that you've experienced, and rightly so. And here, my experience was communicating to me something that was not true. And in one of those veins that kept me from really tapping in to my spiritual practice and being dedicated to my spiritual practice earlier and sooner was that God was like man, that God was fickle, that God had favorites, that God um, allowed hardship and pain and suffering to come into my life to punish me for sin, or for things that I have done that were wrong, or for times in my life where I was mean or I was whatever, that God was paying me back for that, or I deserved this suffering and this turmoil. And that could not be further from the truth. That could not be further from the character of God. Because, see, I read the word, but at the current state that I was interpreting the word was warped by trauma. So I had to clean that mindset up through a lot of work. I had to work on it, because then I was able to see that God was kind, that God was loving, that God cared about the trauma that I had experienced, that He cared about what made me sad, what made me angry, that God was not afraid of my questions, that God was not afraid of my anger. As a matter of fact, He said, hey, let me have it. Let me have it. Ask me, tell me, communicate to me, because that's what you would do when you're intimately involved with someone. You would give them those burdens so that they could help you carry the load. And I did not understand that I know I deserved care. I was worthy of care. And the hardest thing for me to accept was that I wanted to be cared for. I wanted to be cared for. And God helped me to realize that because of my past, I didn't trust it. I couldn't trust it. I couldn't afford to trust it, because people would take advantage of you. And that was true at that time. But that is no longer true now for me. I am in community that is safe, that is secure, that is divine. And I can relinquish control. I can relinquish my trust. I can give my full, true, authentic self to this community because they mean me nothing but good. We are on the same team. But my trauma made me believe that we were not. That even though I'm in this union, this marriage, this relationship, this best friend, what have you, that I still have to ensure my own safety. And so that requires that I hold a portion of me back so that I will not be disappointed when this person finally shows me that I'm not worthy. And now I can appreciate the freedom that comes with truth. And the only way that I could have reached this freedom is being honest with what I really feel, because so much space was being made inside of my heart and my mind to see things differently, to see things as they are and not through the trauma coded glasses that I was looking through. So I could find my voice. I could see my beauty and see my worth and see my body and make peace with it. That was the next hill I had to climb, is to make peace with what and who I saw in the mirror. And that wasn't just internally, but it was also externally. I had to admit that I was ashamed of certain parts of my body, that I was holding on to body images of me in high school and college, and having that full expectation from me now in my 40s, having experienced so much in this body. This body has brought me through miscarriages. This body has brought me through DNCs. This body has brought me through a blood cancer diagnosis. This body has brought me through hysterectomies and surgeries and fibroids and endometriosis and all of these things that my body has brought me through. It has stood up strong and birthed two beautiful baby boys. They're not so baby anymore, but my body did that. My body produced a miracle baby when all of the doctors said that it was impossible. My body did that. And I started to feel, how dare I abandon my body when it has done so much for me? When it has literally kept me alive through so much. I'm still here. I am strong, not only internally, but externally. I am still walking around with joy and peace in my heart. And my body did that. And that realization helped me to appreciate this body, however it stands before me in the mirror. My ultimate goal, and this might be a little TMI for you, but forgive me, because the Bible says I am free by the words of my testimony. So y'all let me testify, okay? My goal is to be able to do as Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden, to stand before God naked and unashamed. Stand before my most intimate partner, the love of my life, naked and unashamed. That, in all of its beauty, in all of its flaws, in all of its scars, in all of the survival that has happened from then until now, naked and unashamed. That is what I want. And that is what I'm working towards. Now, friends, I would be a lie if I told you that I'm there, because I'm not. I still have insecurities, you know, and it's nothing wrong with that. But instead of beating myself to a dirty pulp about those insecurities, I talk to the Lord about them. I talk to my husband about them. I talk to my accountability partners, my sister, my best friends, and share. And when I do share, I find out that I'm not the only one, that it is not something specific to me. It is not anything to be ashamed about. But for so long, I had isolated myself thinking, look at all of this weight I've gained. I should be ashamed of myself. I don't even look like myself anymore. My friends are probably saying, oh, she really let herself go. On and on and on and on. You should hear the narrative that I painted inside of my head. And even though I knew intellectually that this was not true, my body said, oh, you believe it's true. You believe it's true. And so I just went deeper and deeper down that hole. But I thank God that as He made space in my heart, I was able to make peace with this body as it stands at 46 years old, perimenopause and all. I am able to now explore and tap in to my sensuality, to my woman, full womanhood, and all of the colors that that is for me. I am able to care and be cared for. You know, I just took a vacation last month to Hawaii with my husband. And one of the things that was made so clear to me in Hawaii, and I just have to thank God because, friends, I have come a long way. One of the things that was very clear to me is that, first and foremost, I do desire care. I do desire for my husband to care for me. And I realize I taught him through being married these, 14 years. I have taught him not to care for me because I believed I didn't want it. I believe I didn't deserve it. I believe I wasn't worth it. But when we were in Hawaii, the way in which my husband cared for me at every turn on this trip, and the way in which my heart was open to receive it and to indulge in it and to accept it, was a miracle. It was a miracle because I know where I came from. And I know that it was miraculous because if I could have changed it, I would have changed it long time ago. But now is the time. Now was the time. And that wonderful time in Hawaii really brought that up to me. So when I got back, I had a little more space in my heart. And I kept saying to myself, I deserve care. I desire care. I deserve care. I desire care. And the more I opened my heart up to that care, for that care, the more of it came. In all of these ways that I had not been privy to before. I had not even seen them. But now it's like my eyes are open wide. So I made a new priority chart. And that priority chart had me at the top. And I've been in church for a long time, and that sounds like pride. right? But it's different when you are going to church and you're a Christian versus when you have a true relationship with the Father who speaks to you, who makes his word plain to you. You are speaking to him, he's speaking to you, you're listening. That's different. And because of that new closeness that I'm developing and I'm holding on to with dear life, I can hear him tell me what it is that he wants me to do. And therefore, I can with confidence say that God said, Marci, I want to show you exactly how much I care for you. Now that you are in a place where you can hear me, where you can believe me, and you can trust me, I'm going to show you what I've been trying to tell you your entire life. Sit back and watch me. And friends, it is not easy because I've been conditioned to push away care, to allow God to show me how precious I am to him, to give me permission to place me at the top of my priority list. Not outside of him, of course, but before any other human being is me. And God has made, I am at peace with that. I am at peace with that he has given me permission to take care of myself. And not only take care of myself, but to take good care of myself by first allowing him to do it and to do it the way in which he has called me to do it. So I had a strong desire, friend, to get a new car. And this car, I wanted it to be a certain type of car because I just wanted it. And I knew that I had worked hard. I had been working hard. I have done so much to achieve the dreams that I've put out in my life. And for once, I'm allowing myself to feel proud of myself and to feel, pat myself on the back, good job, without feeling guilt surrounding that. And I wanted this car, friends. And so I, spoke to my husband about it, and there was some resistance there. And so because there was some resistance, I was like, okay, that must not be God. Okay, maybe it's just me being selfish, yada, 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 yada. And I remember as quickly as I thought that, the Holy Spirit said, it's me. So with that, I was I was persistent at doing the work in finding this particular car. And I found it and I sent it to my husband and I said, I think I want this one. And he had some questions and they were good questions. So I set an appointment to go and meet with the dealership. I went in to meet with the dealership. And at the end of that meeting, he was handing me the keys and saying, take it, drive it. You're approved. All you have to do is come back with your husband the next day and, go ahead and sign the paperwork. So go ahead and take it. I did not realize it was going to happen that fast. And I was faced with a humongous moment. When I got in that car, friends, and started to go to work, I started feeling all of this guilt and this remorse. And I started to feel I'm doing too much driving to my job with this car. They're going to think I am doing too much. They're going to think all of this stuff. And I can feel myself as I'm driving. I can feel myself spiraling. And I'm like, God, I know I heard you say yes. Was it me? What is happening? And just as clear as day, guys, God spoke to me and said, I want to show you just how precious you are to me. So this car is not about you. This is not about your achievements. This is not about status, but this is for me to show you how precious you are to me. I said, God, what about the resistance that I'm getting? He said, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it. And I said, okay. I said, okay. I drove to that job. I backed in like the boss that I am, parked that car, and I walked into that job like the queen that God said I am. Now, don't confuse this, people. Don't confuse this with materialism, because that's not what this is. And remember, I'm talking about my testimony, what God said to Marci Janice Duncan. So I am not saying to you to be extravagant, to do all of these things the way that the enemy can try to twist this. The message is that God spoke to me and said, yes, I did what he said do. And then he came to me and said, it was me. And I did it that way because I want to show you how precious you are to me. And friends, every concern that my husband had about that car, God addressed it. It was crazy because, see, the next day I had to go back with my husband to sign the paperwork, and I could tell he was feeling some kind of way. And I was like, God, I don't want to live in this turmoil now. I don't want to be doing this. He was like, I got it. I'm like, okay. He said, hush. So I did. I hushed. I didn't say anything. Even in the office with the paper signing and all of that, God said, hush. I did. Y'all, I had to walk away from the table a couple times because I wanted to open my mouth. I had to go. By the end of that day, car buying takes a long process. By the end of that day, every concern was addressed. And we drove off that lot with no hard feelings, with no reservations. As a matter of fact, it was a fantastic deal. To God be the glory, friends. To God be the glory. Not with blessing me with a car, but giving me a promise and validating who I am and how he feels about me. Oftentimes people, and myself, I'll speak to myself, oftentimes we think that peace is the absence of turmoil and suffering and trouble. But in actuality, peace is serenity in those times of turmoil, in those times of suffering, in those times of uncertainty. It's having that serenity that God is trustworthy, that I can rest, I can trust, I can lay down my armor and not feel the need to defend, not feel the need to secure my own safety, not feel the need to go ahead of God and make things work the way that I feel safe in them working. That's true peace. And that peace that he gave me when he said, I'll take care of it, was in the midst of some feelings, right? And I don't like to be in discord, especially with my partner. And God knows that. But he gave me that peace in the midst. Now, I would have loved to have gone through this situation and said, honey, this is what I want. Okay, honey, yeah, let's go do it right now. What color you want, baby? But that didn't happen. But it didn't have to, because I had heard from God and I was obedient to God. And that was a win. That was a win. I want to do our reflection for this week. And I want to start with this meditation. My body is not broken. My body is blessed. My body will do exactly what it's supposed to do. Here's the questions that I want to answer. I want you to answer in your dissonance workbook, the companion workbook to this podcast. You can get it in the show notes. It's available now. Answer these questions in your workbook. What is your relationship with your body? Where do you carry grief, joy, shame, or love in your body? And what does peace look like for you in your body? What does that feel like? Again, the affirmation, my body is not broken. My body is blessed. My body will do what it's supposed to do. We are getting closer, friends. We are getting closer to the woman, to the queen that God has created me to be. And I'm so happy to have you on this journey with me, because if I'm getting closer, I know that you're getting closer too. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please join me next time for a beautiful time together. I trust that you'll be there. I know I will. Take care until next time. Thank you for walking this stretch of the journey with me. If something in today's episode stirred your spirit, share this episode with a sister. Leave a review or connect with me on social media. Remember, your softness is sacred. Your healing is your birthright. And your queendom, it's already within you. Until next time, keep rising and claim your inheritance. Hey guys, just in case you didn't know, there is a workbook that is a companion to this podcast. Check it out in the show notes. You are going to love it. This podcast was brought to you by Artists at Play, nurturing the artist within.